And as we await those speeches, we bring in Fox News political analyst Juan Williams, pollster Frank Luntz, and Fox News contributor Lanny Davis. Take out references to God, Jerusalem as the capital, have a big floor fight, they lose it, they take it twice, 3 times, and then they just put in prompter, okay, motion accepted. Whatever happened to liberal democracy, Lanny? Come on. They got beat on the floor because they were shouting no to God and Jerusalem.
And what did Will Rogers say about the Democratic Party? I belong to no organized political party. I am a Democrat. So you see what Democrats can do.
I almost felt bad for the mayor of Los Angeles. Boo, no. The no's outweigh the yays. And he said, all right, let me take it again, see if the result's any better. But let me take it a third time, Frank.
When we screw up, we do it in front of everyone.
Yeah. Oh, you screwed up. This is the first time God was rejected at a political convention.
And we've dialed God before. Yeah. He does pretty well. God actually outscores Barack Obama.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's a shot.
Well, now, look, politically speaking, it may have played well in this hall in Charlotte, but you've got the hardcore base here. I don't think this plays as well around the country. This will be remembered as a convention. This might be a tipping point more than you think.
Well, I guess you think so, but I think it's a distraction. It's a minor issue.
Minor?
Yeah, very minor. I mean, if you look at the platform in actuality, there's a lot of conversation there about faith and the centrality of religion in American life.
But they took out the reference to God. They took out consciously.
It was God-given abilities was the phrase.
Right.
It's not talking about God and not denying that there's the existence of God.
They took out God-given abilities.
That was a phrase.
And they took out Jerusalem as the capital of Israel at a time of heightened tensions.
Oh, yeah,
which was in there 4 years ago.
And Sean, did you miss that the Bush administration also said, you know what, we want a waiver?
Bush is gone. I don't want to hear about Bush.
We shouldn't talk about any responsibility for Republicans. That's against the rules. No, let's not do that.
Well, that may not be a good idea. I am just sick and tired of 4 years of Bush. At what time does President Obama take? Is this his economy now? Can we officially say tonight at this convention, 4 years later, he owns it?
I absolutely think he owns it, and I think he's done a pretty good job digging out of a deep hole.
By what measure? Give me a measure.
I don't think we're 4.5 million private sector jobs.
Well, put your 2 caveats in. Private sector, in this month and that month, we have fewer Americans working than when he took office.
I am not going to have to spin that we're better off now than we were 4 years ago. We were in a deep hole and we're digging out. There are things that I wish President Obama had done differently, but between him and Mitt Romney, for me, and for Bill Clinton, which you'll hear tonight, it isn't even close.
Well, let me give you
I got 3 numbers. I got 3 numbers for you to remember. 23 million, 716 billion, and 16 trillion. 23 million unemployed. Those people aren't better off today than they were before, and their families, their children, their parents. 716 billion that was taken out of Medicare, so people over 65 now have to.
You're about Paul Ryan's budget now?
716 billion. And 16 trillion, which just went over today, a $16 trillion debt, more than the first 40
Okay, so let me give him some numbers.
Wait a second. Let me add 2 to those. 1 in 6 Americans in poverty, are they better off? No. And 48 million Americans on food stamps. 15 million more than when Obama took office.
Let me give you guys some numbers.
You help us out.
GDP higher than it was when Barack Obama took office. Okay, corporate profits at record levels. In fact, historic levels right now. Okay, if you're talking about job creation, you're talking about 29 straight months of job creation in this country. If you're talking about Wall Street, if you're talking about NASDAQ, we are back above where we were when the economy was sinking and about to go into depression.
Let me give you some more numbers. 69% of Americans say the country is on the wrong track. And
what did they say during the Bush years? They said the same thing.
And only 31% of the nation believes we're in better condition.
Look, I'm for Obama, but I think we have a very tough argument to make, and we've got to compare the choices he's giving us.
Very tough or nearly impossible?
No, we're going to win the election because Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, as we just heard one number mentioned, is exactly the same number that Paul Ryan was going to cut from Medicare, but you forgot to mention that. And you're going to hear Bill Clinton talk about the achievements of the Obama administration, starting with national health care. Everybody watching tonight does not have to ever worry about losing insurance and pre-existing conditions, and their kids age 26.
And it's 3 times what the original projected.
They're all better off on health insurance.
It's 3 times the projected cost, and Frank's right. They rated Medicare to pay for it.
No, they did.
10 years taxes, 6 years benefits.
If they rated it, then so did Paul Ryan, because he used the same number in his budget. budget.
Obama took the money, Lanny. Paul Ryan did not take the money.
He did not. He did not. It's a matter of reducing the rate of growth in terms of Medicare spending, and the pressure is not put on mom and dad. The pressure is put on the service providers, Sean. The guarantee for service under Medicare remains under President Obama.
Payments to hospitals and providers. That's the point. Frank.
Same number as Paul Ryan, yes or no?
We have been asking these undecided voters, the people in the center, how they react. And the danger for you, Lanny, is that the language of Barack Obama at this convention will be exactly what it was 4 years ago. That ad that the Republican National Committee put out, word for word, Barack Obama is saying exactly the same thing today, the same hope, the same change as he did in 2008. And the American people look at this and they say, you know what? This guy's a politician. He's a good politician. He's an effective politician, but he's a politician.
But he said these things.
The words don't mean anything, Sean.
But there's a couple other statistics. Unemployment is up. 7.8 was what he inherited, 8.3%. Hundreds of thousands fewer Americans working. Gas was $1.85 a gallon. It's now $3.78. The average length of unemployment has nearly doubled in the country. Home prices down 35%. Net worth down 39% in 3 years. And the average health care price is up by $3,000.
You know what? Here's what I would say to you.
I'm listening.
And this is what Vice President Biden will say tomorrow night. It's a bumper sticker. This president saved GM.
How much does GM?
You know what? No. How about this? This president got us out of a war in Iraq. How about this president has a timetable to get us out of Afghanistan?
How much does GM, how much did the CBO say they will never pay back the American people? Do you know the number?
No, I don't. But let me ask you something.
Let me educate you.
So you wouldn't have saved GM. You would have let Americans go unemployed.
No, I would have allowed the
because that's what Romney would have done.
No, government pick winners or losers.
Oh, that's it. So Romney says throw those folks out. Get them out of here.
Let me focus on what Bill Clinton is going to say tonight.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Because that's the positive that we should talk about.
Listen, I want to talk about Bill Clinton. He did accuse Obama of playing the race card. We'll talk about that with our panel: Juan Williams, Frank Luntz, Lanny Davis. By the way, NBC meteorologist says, because they moved the big, Invesco Field Greek column speech indoors, there are actually very little weather concerns for Thursday night, and he said so the severe threat is zero, almost zero. They couldn't fill the stadium, Lenny?
Are we here to talk about the weather tonight?
I'm just asking. I mean, that's what they said. I mean, it sounds like they couldn't fill. Juan's agreeing.
They had to make a call before.
They were afraid of it. They were afraid. So. I agree.
I gave a speech yesterday to a bunch of high school students here, so I got to talk with the administrators and all that. And they're saying initially there was a real premium on tickets, but all of a sudden a flood of tickets were available, and they thought, you know what, they're going to have trouble filling this stadium.
This is a major issue that I'm very concerned about not filling the stadium.
But no, what about in Ohio?
What about the 30,000 young people that came, that actually drove here to see that speech? What about the respect for them? People who made a commitment.
The people that will bust in.
And that's one of the issues. The number one priority that the American people. That's a major
issue, Frank.
The number one priority that the American people want from their elected officials is respect. They want politicians who say what they mean and mean what they say, who look them straight in the eye and tell them the way it's going to be. Does that truly describe this president?
Of course it does.
I would suggest that the vast listening or viewing audience is not going to vote for president based on what Frank Luntz just said.
All right, let me ask. All right, Bill Clinton's going to be here tonight.
I don't think that's an issue.
You are his biggest defender.
And friend and still am.
All right, I got it. And I expect to. And I want to say to all the hot chicks out there tonight, I'm back.
You just lost it.
All right, I'm kidding.
Another great issue. Let's talk about Bill Clinton's speech
but wait a minute.
tonight.
Can he overshadow the speech tomorrow night? I bet you more people want him back than Obama.
First of all, Obama is hard to overshadow because he's one of the great speakers, but Bill Clinton is one of a kind. We all know that.
What did you say to me in the break when I just asked you that question?
I said that now, truthful, he will do a great job telling people why Barack Obama shares his values, his positions on
the welfare, as we know it, the era of big government.
Passed national health care, which he fought for, was unable to pass, is willing to cut taxes for the middle class, but the wealthy have to contribute. He shares Bill Clinton's values, and you'll hear Bill.
Frank, you're the language master. Could he outperform?
Bill Clinton feels your pain. It's because he causes it, Lanny, but at least he feels it while he's causing it. Absolutely. The challenge for tomorrow is for Barack Obama to basically say, I made a mistake. Sean, there is one way that Obama could secure his presidency, to acknowledge that these last 4 years that he didn't provide the hope, that he didn't provide the change, but that he's learned. The American people want someone to stand up and apologize, hold themselves accountable.
This is fascinating to me. So in other words, because they've struggled, they've been incoherent as a campaign, and they can't answer the question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? One person says no. Then is excoriated into a hostage video moment, and then that's true.
I don't think it's true.
Governor O'Malley,
Cory Booker didn't say that.
He was Spain. He was
that's a different issue.
O'Malley said no.
O'Malley simply said that when it comes to this, he thinks that in fact we're having to dig out of a deep hole that was so deep 4 years ago. But you know what everybody says? We are absolutely, again, go back to standard economic measures, Mr. Hannity.
I'm going back.
GDP today is better. Look at profits. Look at Wall Street.
You're dreaming.
Look at jobs. I'm dreaming.
We got 49
These are hard numbers.
Giving you hard numbers. We go back to this, and for Stephanie Cutter to say by every measure, tell that to the unemployed, tell that to the people.
There were no unemployed before. There were no poor people before.
There's not one time.
There's a better question. It's not just are you better off? Is America better off as a country? We're more divided. We're more angry. You can even see it here.
I have a better question.
We're not angry.
My question.
He's angry.
I'm not angry at all.
He's angry. You're angry.
I'm not angry.
You're even yelling now.
No.
He will ask, between the positions of Mitt Romney, who wants to cut taxes for the wealthy,
stop with the money. That's not
add
true.
to our deficit. If you
that is not
let me
true.
Finish.
Stop.
And the choice presented by Barack Obama, which is to pay fair share of taxes, and people who are wealthy should be contributing more. You'll hear Bill Clinton say, you can tax me. I'm able to pay more taxes. Why is Mitt Romney not?
But it's not about taxes, Lanny. It's about spending. The American people, by almost 4 to 1, say that we don't have a tax problem. We have a spending problem. And until Washington stops wasting the public's money, they will not support any tax increase on anyone.
American people don't want a Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan budget that uses more credit cards, that adds to the deficits.
What did you do? What did you provide?
Which is exactly what the Ryan budget
You took us to $16 trillion from $10 trillion.
And Bill Clinton had $1 trillion surplus in 8 years later.
Okay.
What does that have to do? That has nothing to do with Obama. Obama gave you $5.4 trillion in debt. Wait a minute. And he said he'd cut the deficit in half in his first term.
Oh, gee. What did Bush do during the years?
$4 trillion in 8 years.
Prescription drug benefit, 2 wars, not on the books.
$4 trillion in 8 years.
And gave us a recession that this president had to spend money to try to dig America.
Money to
yes, and you know what?
How many shovel-ready jobs?
You know what? We have produced jobs in this country, and even as Lanny was saying, jobs in the private sector, not just in the public sector.
Just because you keep saying it does not negate the fact that what you're saying is untrue. Fewer Americans are working now.
Fewer Americans are working because we were in a deep hole, Sean.
Okay, he said he would fix that. He's had 4 years and he hasn't fixed it.
He has made progress, Sean, and we are producing jobs.
One thing we all agree on.
This is hope.
One thing.
This is change.
Exactly.
This is success.
No, this is obstruction by Republicans.
Can it get?
This is obstruction.
This is a tough group.
All right, one at a time.
This is a tough group. One thing we can all agree on is that the $16 trillion debt is a moral disgrace. Both parties are responsible for using credit cards to pay for
nobody
2 wars,
nobody has given us $5.4 trillion.
One at a time.
When Mitt Romney tells me that he'll endorse the Simpson Bowles, which is raise revenues, cut spending,
let me move on
then
to
I'll have
another
greater
issue.
respect for Mitt Romney.
The race card. Now, we have a Truth Team member surrogate in Virginia that called Romney a racist. The president said nothing. We have Joe Biden unchained. They're going to put you all back in chains. We have the L.A. mayor saying you can't trot out a brown face or a Spanish surname and expect people are going to vote for you. I want to know why the president that said that he'd bring Red America and Blue America together with the United States, why hasn't he had the moral courage to stand up to the extremists in his party?
Well, I hope Barack Obama sets a different tone tomorrow night, repudiates the negative ads that have engaged in character attacks, and follows the Bill Clinton philosophy that you can say somebody is right or wrong without describing them as good or evil. That's the Bill Clinton that I think is the example that Barack
smear
Obama
and slander campaign and the ugliest campaign beneath the dignity of the office of presidency.
And the American people think that this is, first, the most important election that they voted in and the ugliest election that they voted in. And I hate hate to say this, but I think the next 60 days are going to be even worse. And I'm hoping that Barack Obama takes a different tone tomorrow and says enough is enough.
Can I respond to your earlier question about the race card?
Yes, sir.
What do you think about the idea of voter suppression, about denying people the right, the ability to vote as a political strategy, and knowing that the Republican Party, dominated by white males right now and by whites overall, that the Republican Party...
have a minute. Hang on.
Right. That the Republican Party says, we know how to win this election.
Hang on a
second.
second.
We'll keep the growing number of minorities from voting.
To get into this DNC convention, you needed ID. So you're saying that the Democrats are racist because all the Republicans are saying you got to have ID.
No.
What's wrong with ID?
The problem is that you know it's going to have a disproportionate impact on a certain segment of the population, the elderly, minorities,
If that's your
and
definition,
the young.
then this convention is racist.
No. This is about security. There's no evidence of fraud, vote fraud in the United States.
How about ending this panel by agreeing with Frank and all of us that we want the tone of this campaign to change, not only Barack Obama, but Mitt Romney as well.
That's the one thing we agree on.
There you go.
That's all the time we have left.